All right, Acts 24.
Acts 24.
Now Paul hurried from Asia Minor. He hurried back to Jerusalem to get there on time for the day of Pentecost. He met with the Jews, and some of them recognized him from Ephesus and the other cities in Asia.
So dali si Paul o gadto sa Jerusalem kay iyang apason lagi ang Pentecost. So daghan gikan siya sa Ephesus ug daghang nakaila sa iya didto.
And they saw him with a Gentile, and they assumed that he took the Gentile into the temple, which is anathema, but that was wrong. But they accused him of it anyway, and they also accused him of just telling people, don't bother with Moses' law, you don't have to keep it, just become a Christian. He didn't do that either, so he's falsely accused. Nothing new with Paul, and he's arrested. Nothing new with Paul.
Kay nakitaan man siya nga na siya kauban nga hintil, mao nang daghan kayong gipasangil sa iya kay masuko lagi sila nga naay hintil. Kay nang gipasangilan si Paul nga daghang gisupak nga balaod gikan kang Moses ug uban pang mga balaod nila. So nasuko sila, mao nang ilang gipadakop si Paul.
Now he's brought to the city of Caesarea, and he was transported there with a whole lot of soldiers. Good. Whatever you did, praise the Lord. Okay, so Paul, who was a nobody, has become a very important prisoner, and they transported him, I forget the number, but 200 and some horses and soldiers and spearmen and all of this to protect Paul, to get him to Caesarea so they could safely try him.
Si Paul gikan sa Wail hingkalit og kasikat kay daghan kayong gagwardya sa iya. Kag 200 kabuk, napay mga kabayo, napay mga kasundaluhan gikan sa wala mailin ning sikat. Kay gidala siya sa Caesarea.
So Paul goes to trial because here's the situation, in case you've lost track of it. The Jews have conspired to kill him. They swore they would not eat until they killed Paul. It's been a good while. I suppose they kept their word, but it doesn't ever say that they broke their fast, so they must have died of hunger. Joking.
Kadtong mga nagplano sa iya nga mga Hudiyo nga patyon siya, tingali wa man gyud namatay si Paul, nangamatay tingali to gutom, kay di ba nagsaad-saad man to nga di gyud mo inom, di mo kaon to di nila mapatay si Paul. Daw di kay nakalarga naman si Paul, di nangamatay di gito, nangapas mo to.
Now, for safety's sake, they take him to Caesarea and they bring the Jews up there to try. But it's a Roman court. Paul is a Roman citizen, but he's a Jew by birth. He's from the city of Tarsus. And Paul's getting ready to meet the kings that he was commissioned to preach to on the day he was saved.
ug si Paul kay andam na magid siya mo tubang og hari maunang iya naging ganda biyang kaugalingon kay mao may gisugo siya sa Ginoo tilo ng hari.
Now, the Jews bring a professional lawyer, probably. It's hard to tell. His name is Tertullius, one of my favorite persons in the Bible. Actually, I despise him.
Og si Paul kay daghan naging nangasuko siya, daghan pong mga nag-spy siya, daghan kay gusto nila dauton si Paul kay galagot sila lagi sa mga daghang ipangsupak nga balaod.
Now, he's probably a prosecuting attorney, and he's good at speaking, and he uses all highfalutin words, and he tries to impress the Romans by representing Paul as a criminal that deserves to die.
Kay namay isa ka abogado nga banggiitan kunuhay kayo unya i-represent siya ni Paul og sa lain pa nga kriminal nya daghan kay siya gipangsulti nga makapa-impress sa hari. So mo lang gihay.
Now let's read for a while in chapter 24. And after 5 days, Ananias the high priest, the most important Jew in all of Judea, there's only one high priest at a time, he probably unworthy deeds done to this nation, you get the idea. He is a despicable subject.
Si Tertullius menuntut kepentingan mengenai atau siapa yang historia bagi video lain kita menunjukkan natural.
Riz's snuff habit wasn't very good, but other than that, he's pretty good interpreter. Verse 3, we accept all in always and in all places most noble feelings, with all thanks give thankfulness, notwithstanding that I be not further tedious unto thee. I pray thee that thou wouldst hear us with of thy clemency a few words. Oh, shut up! I did all that so that you could get a little video of your own impression of 𝗕𝗢𝗢𝗢𝗢. The Lord is not impressed, and neither is Felix. Look at this. Look closely. I love this picture. Here's Felix, and here's his companion, and here's 𝗕𝗢𝗢𝗢𝗢. And I think he dropped his snuff box, but you can see by the expressions on their faces, they are not impressed. Okay, you get the picture. Make your own video, and we'll go back to the text and read some. In verse 5, for we have found this man a pestilent fellow, and a mover of sedition among all the Jews throughout the world, and a ringleader of the sect of the Nazarenes, all lies, exaggerations, and slander. So, God hates all three of those, and he's trying to persuade Felix, and Felix is not impressed.
Morning, Tertullius Tertullius yang nagkagagag pasakil ng pagbitan o wala yun na impress, wala na himuot. Si Felix nagsusunod kaya mamugusto yan tumumutinguha na iyang mapabilib si Governor Felix para makumbinsin niya na nautang ko.
Verse 6, who also have gone about to profane the temple by whom we took and would have judged according to our law. So he's saying we would have taken care of this but for Chief Captain Lysias. Verse 7. But the Chief Captain Lysias came upon us, and with great violence took him away out of our hands, commanding his accusers to come unto thee, by examining of whom thyself mayest take knowledge of all these things whereof we accuse him. Bye-bye, 𝗕𝗢𝗢𝗢𝗢. And the Jews also assented. They agreed, all the Jews agreed, saying that these things were so. Verse 10, then Paul, after that the governor had beckoned unto him to speak, answered, you can guess what he did. He gave his testimony for about the fourth time so far in Acts. Go ahead.
Basis niya na dinisig silahan para gibihan pagpupul.
days since I went up to Jerusalem to worship. And they neither found me in the temple, I didn't go into the temple, disputing with any man, neither raising up the people, neither in the synagogues, nor in the city. He's saying, I'm innocent of these accusations by 𝗕𝗢𝗢𝗢𝗢. Verse 13, neither can they prove the things whereof they now accuse me. I'm telling you, it's one of the worst things that you can experience is to be lied against, slandered, and sometimes you don't even have an opportunity to defend yourself. It's a bad situation. I don't know if you've ever been there.
So pait kayo nga kahimtang o ang mahimong eksperyensya kung ikaw bakakan, butang-butangan, yaga-yagaan, lisod ka na kahimtang. Nya, kani pagid nga sistema, atubangan pagid sa husgado. Grabe kabutbot, murag liwat ang nasa ubos.
Now here goes Paul with another testimony, the same testimony, but again. But this, verse 14, but this I confess unto thee, that after the way which they call heresy, so worship I, the God of my fathers, believing all things which are written in the law and in the prophets. He's a Bible believer, might write that as a note. And have hope toward God, which they themselves also allow, that there shall be a resurrection of the dead, both of the just and unjust. General resurrection. Paul says, this is what I believe, and I confess, and it's part of their religion, the Jews, and it still is today, as far as theology is concerned.
So morning gipaliwanag ni Paul na siya usa ka tumutuo sa Ginoo gikan dito ko sa templo nagagistorya ko sa mga tao dito wala man koy gipanghimo nga dautan wala man try ma charge ako. So iyang gipagawas iyang gipahibalo nga wala siya inosente siya sa tanang mga pasangil sa iya.
Verse 16, and herein do I exercise myself to have always a conscience void of offense toward God and toward men. Now, the last time he said that, the high priest commanded somebody to slap him or hit him in the face, which they had a big argument over, and that was contrary to the law of Moses for the high priest to do that.
So mo ni iyang gipahibalo diri nga wala gyud siya na himo nga kasalanan o kasaypanan nga nahimo nga na-violate nga mga balaod.
Basically, he's saying, I am innocent and God knows it and these Jews know it if they would tell the truth. He didn't say that, but basically that's what he says. Verse 16, and herein do I exercise myself to have always a conscience void of offense toward God and toward men. Now, after many years, I came to bring alms, that's his tithes and offerings, to my nation and offerings, whereupon certain Jews from Asia, that would be Ephesus and Thyatira, and we've studied that before. And certain Jews from Asia found me purified in the temple, neither with multitude nor with tumult, who ought to have been here before thee and object if they had aught against me, Or else let these same here say, if they have found any evil in me, evil doing in me, while I stood before the council, except it be for this one voice that I cried, standing among them, touching the resurrection of the dead, I am called in question by you this day. So there isn't, and there never has been, any real transgression of law, either Jewish law or Roman law. They haven't been successful in killing him. They're probably getting hungry, and they don't know what to do, and the Roman court doesn't know what to do.
So wala gyud mapasangil, wala gyud makit-an, wala gyud siya nasupak nga balaod si Paul maskin sa Jew ug sa mga Roman nga mga balaod. So klaro kayo nga inosente siya ug iyang gidipindahan iyang kaugalingon diha karon atubangan sa korte sa Roman, sa gobernador.
Verse 22, now, Felix is a governor, politician, ruler. Now, I want you to think about this as we get closer to the end of the life of Paul. Not very many people on earth, and certainly not very many Jews, in a lifetime are going to have the opportunity to witness the gospel of Jesus Christ to these rulers, much less Agrippa the king and Caesar the king of the world. And Paul told Paul when he got saved, I'm going to make opportunity for you to preach to and be a witness to the Jews, to the Gentiles, and to kings. And we're just now getting into the kings part of all that.
So wala kayo tingali wala gyud nahitabo nga ang usa ka tawo maka-witness o maka-istorya sa mga hari o mga dagko nga mga tao, mga dagkog mga posisyon ba. Si Paul ra kay si Paul gi-istoryahan sa Ginoo, giingnan, gisugo nga ikaw mahimo na kong witness gikan sa Jew, sa Gentile o sa mga hari. So hapit na ta maabot sa hari kay kani diri pa ta sa gobernador karong panahon na.
22, and when Felix heard these things, having more perfect knowledge of that way, he deferred them and said, when Lysias the chief captain shall come down, I will know of the utmost of your matter. So he puts them off, another delay. And he commanded a centurion to keep Paul and to let him have liberty, and that he should forbid none of his acquaintance to minister or come unto him. So Paul has liberty, and yet he's confined, and his relatives can come and bring him lunch and dinner and bath necessities or whatever. That's so that the Roman government doesn't have to pay to feed Paul all the years that Paul is with the Roman government as a captive.
So si Paul gawas nun siya pero napriso siya. So man na. Dili gyud siya gitawag og pinriso pero gihipos nang siya sa mga Romano kay lagi patyon man siya sa mga Hudiyo. Unya kay ang mga Romans kay ilang palangga ilang mga citizen. Di man nila kulataon, ilang man palangga. So si Paul naa siya dito sa palasyo, di siya makagawas-gawas pero libre siya. Di gyud siya pinriso dahil an siya pagkaon siyang parente.
Verse 24, and after certain days, when Felix came with his wife Drusilla, which was a Jewess, he sent for Paul and heard him concerning the faith in Christ. Aha! So Felix takes another opportunity and actually requests Paul to come and teach him about Christ.
So si Felix naghilom-hilom. Iyang gipatawag si Paul kay gusto siya mahibalo kung unsa din si Kristo. Nya nakaasawa siya og Jewish nga si 𝗕𝘱𝘕 ang ngalan.
Now Paul really hammers down. He is really preaching here now because he's been asked to. Look in verse 25. And as he reasoned of righteousness, temperance, and judgment to come. Now guys, if you want a good preaching, there it is right there. You preach on righteousness, temperance, and judgment. Temperance is being able to control yourself against sin, temptation, whatever, and judgment. So Paul preached on standing before God, giving an account, and he preached on the hell. Now that's the closest thing you'll hear from Paul on hell. He doesn't mention hell in any of his epistles, but this is evidence that he actually preached on it.
So giwali ni Paul kay gihangyo man siya, gipatawag siya ni Felix nga gusto siya masayod kang Kristo. So gawali si Paul og righteousness, pagkamatarong, temperance, kanong maimong makontrolar ang imong kaugalingon, labi na sa mga tentasyon o sa uban pa, tingali sa kasuko o uban pa. Nga imong mapugnan, imong kaugalingon og kaning judgment nga pinakaduol nga na istorya ni Paul na hisgutan nga murag impierno. Kaya wa man siya hisgut og impierno. So mo ni pinakaduol niya nga grabe ang niyang wali og mikurog si Felix.
Now here's an unusual response to hard preaching. Read it again from 25. And as he reasoned of righteousness, temperance, and judgment to come, Felix trembled and answered. That's all in the Greek. Go thy way this time, for when I have a convenient season, I will call for thee. Okay, look, trembled. Felix trembled. Look at me. I mean, he's virtually, look at me, he's virtually shaking. He's trembling with conviction for his sin. Go ahead.
So, akong gisulti nga nagsayang pagkadungog sa giwali ni Paul. Nakonbiktar siya o nagkurug-kurug siya kay iyang nasuta ang iyang mga sala.
I've been preaching a lot of years. I can't say that I've ever seen anybody actually tremble under conviction of their sin. There's too many things in the world today to distract from that. You don't have to listen to preaching. You can turn your phone on. You can watch television. You can watch movies. You can listen to music. And there's too much to distract people from the devil, the god of this world, so that they don't have to think so much about their sin.
So, wala. So, dugay-dugay na ako nagwali, pero wala pa ko kita nga na tagbuan ako nga mikurog, gumikan sa nakonbiktar sa lang sala. Kasagaran manggod diri karon kay daghan na kayong matan-awan na natay mga cellphone, nagtanaw tag salida, tanaw tag unsa lang diha. So di na kay ta makumbiktar sa atong mga sala, di na kay nato igbali kay normal na magong sala sa tan-aw nimo diha sa internet.
Now the words of Felix are interesting here in verse 25. He says, "Go thy way for this time." Right now, I don't have time. Right now, it's not convenient for me to take your track, to listen to your preaching. Now, people in front of the hospital tomorrow morning have absolutely nowhere to go. They're in line. They probably have an appointment with the doctor. There isn't anything for them to do except watch their cell phones, which they probably will. But it's not convenient for them to deal with the matter of the sin of their souls. I got news for you, preach. It never will be convenient for anybody to tremble and consider righteousness, temperance, and judgment.
So dili gyud convenient, pero dili gyud ka kampante nga makadungog kung walihan ka og pagkamatarong o temperance kanang pagpugong o kanang impyerno. Lisod ba kay na paminaw nya ikaw makasasala makadungog ka na di gyud na ka kampante na ba?
Now, if you want an easy sermon, it's right there. If I was preaching on verse 25, I would tell my audience, you go to a convenience store, you watch television when it's convenient, you exercise when it's convenient, you eat when it's convenient, you sleep when it's convenient. What about now? Is it time for you? Is it convenient for you to be saved? I'd preach this tomorrow morning at the hospital. You got nothing to do. Is it convenient for you to be saved? We'll come right now and show you the plan of salvation. You've got it in your hands in that tract. Is it convenient for you to read it? Bow your head. Call upon the name of the Lord and be saved, and know for sure when you die you're going to heaven. Preach, preach, preach.
So mayo ni iwali kung imong iwali nga sayon ra ba sa inyo, kumbinyente ba sa inyo, kampante ba kamo nga moadto kamo sa impyerno? Dili na sayon. Lisod na.
Verse 26, aha. He hoped also that money should have been given him of Paul, that he might loose him. Wherefore he sent for him the oftener and communed with them. So he's waiting on a bribe. That's what that's all about. You ought to study bribes in the Bible. If you want a number of verses, I've got them. Robin's got more. She has made a personal study of bribes. And you should make the same study. Verse 27, for after 2 years, Porcius Festus came into Felix's room. He took his office as governor. And Felix, look at this, willing to show the Jews a pleasure, left Paul bound. It wasn't convenient for Felix to let Paul go. And he left him bound 2 years. Do you know how long 2 years is? That Paul and his relatives had to deal with Paul being in jail, accused, and all the bad rumors against him. He had to live with that for 2 years, but that really is just the beginning of Paul's troubles before he dies.
Kay di man lagi sayon o konbinyente kang Felix ngayang buhian si Paul, iya panuong gi bound, gigapos. So more tabla ra gyapon gipriso si Paul duha ka tuig. Ang kag duha ka tuig nga tanggong si Paul dito. Now,
let's go to chapter 25 And 25 is a continuation of this. Now, when Festus was come into the province, after 3 days, he ascended from Caesarea to Jerusalem. They go back and forth, but they leave Paul in Caesarea. Then the high priest and the chief of the Jews informed him against Paul. Hey, these guys haven't eaten in 2 years. They're getting hungry for Paul's death. Then the high priest, the chief of the Jews, informed him against Paul and besought him. They begged him and desired favor against him. Now, Festus, until now, never heard of Paul. Probably only heard what was on the 6 o'clock news at night about Jesus. Doesn't know much.
So si Festus nga gihangyo sa mga kay kadumot gyud dagib sa duha na ka tuig milabay. Kadumot gyud ang mga Hudiyo. Ilang gihangyo si Festus, ilang gi atik-atik nga naalagi si Paul. Nga wag ni kaila si Festus kang Paul. Tingali nakadungog lang ni nga naay gubot pero wag ni siya kaila ni Paul.
Verse 3, and desired, this is the high priest, he desired favor against him, that he would send for him to Jerusalem, laying wait in him in the way to kill him. So they're still conspiring. What they've done about food, we don't know, and that's kind of funny, but it's not mentioned. But they want Festus now to transport Paul from back to Jerusalem so they can kill him.
So kay naman si Paul sa Caesarea na priso, ilang gihangyo si Festus nga ibalik siya na si Paul sa Jerusalem Bay kay ilang plano nga ilang ambuson, kay ilang patyon diya sa dalan. Yeah.
Verse 4, but Festus answered that Paul should be kept in Caesarea, and that he himself would depart shortly thither. Let them therefore, said he, which among you are able, go down with me and accuse this man, if there be any wickedness in him. It looks like the Roman rulers are becoming very doubtful, as if there is any guilt involved in this Paul's trial that's going on the 3rd year.
So sa ani padlong magtulo na katuig ilahang kaso, ang mga Romans nga mga kadagkuan murag gaduda na, murag gaduha na nga wala man isla si Paul.
Verse 6, and when he had tarried among them more than 10 days, he went down unto Caesarea. Now, we've explained this before, but the up, the down, Jerusalem is on like a mountain, several mountains. So they're traveling south to north on a map, from the bottom going toward the top. Usually you would travel up to Manila and down to Mindanao or down to CDO on the map, up, down. But this up, down has to do with the height of Jerusalem. Caesarea is on the coast. So you go from Jerusalem, you go north, but you would go down because Jerusalem's on a mountain. So you go down to Caesarea on the course and on the coast, and you go up to Jerusalem on the mountain.
Ang buot pasabot aning up down ani kay og diri sa tuwa sa atong mapa, sa tuwa diri ating butang, muadto kag Manila pataas kay og sa mapa nawan si babaw. munaog ka di sa Mindanao. Pero diri sa atong gisuryahan sa Jerusalem, kang Jerusalem bukid man, ang 𝗕𝗟𝗓 kay tuwa man diri man sa syudad, diri man duol sa dagat, mo nang up down ang tawag kay musaka man kag Jerusalem, munaog man ka dito sa kanatong musaka ka dito sa Kalunawan, munaog man ka sa Cagayan, nana ba? Nana ang sistema kahimtang.
And in verse 7, you have, here we go again, another trial. And when he was come, the Jews which came down from Jerusalem stood round about and laid many and grievous complaints against Paul, which they could not prove. While he answered for himself, neither against the law of the Jews, neither against the temple, nor yet against Caesar have I offended anything at all. How many times has he given testimony to that fact and proven from his own testimony that he is an innocent man, and the Jews haven't come up with one solid evidence that he's guilty of anything, much less capital punishment.
So kadaghan na kayo nagsigig dipinsa si Paul sa iyang kaugalingon nga wala man gyud siya nahimo nga sala, wa gyud siya nahimo nga salaod bisan pag-unsay ilang pasangil.
Verse 9, but Festus, willing to do the Jews a pleasure, answered Paul and said, wilt thou go up to Jerusalem and there be judged of these things before me? Now, why was Paul so quick to say no? Not because he was guilty and they could try him and find him guilty, but because he knew they wanted to kill him and he knew he was innocent.
So sa dihang mingon si Festus nga andam baka, musugot baka nga dito tas Jerusalem maghusay. Dali kanto si Paul, di ko. Kay kabalo man siya nga patyon siya. Kabalo man siya nga ambuson siya.
So Paul does something that no other Jew in the room can do.
Si Paul kabalo yun.
Go ahead.
Nasairan yun, hibawon yun ni Paul nga patyon siya.
Verse 10, then said Paul, I stand at Caesar's judgment seat, where I ought to be judged. To the Jews have I done no wrong, as thou very well knowest. But if I be an offender, or have committed anything worthy of death, I refuse not to die. But if there be none of these things whereof they accuse me, no man may deliver me unto them. I appeal unto Caesar. How could he do that? He's just a nobody. He's a Roman citizen. And under the right conditions, he has every right to appeal to the Supreme Court, even Caesar. Nobody else could do that because they were not a Roman citizen.
So lagi laing nga mo appeal, ang mo hangyo, nga moadto siya sa hari, kundili Roman citizen rapog ka. So si Paul, Roman citizen man siya, o nang pwede ra siya.
You see, the Lord had this all set up so that Paul was the only one that could actually find himself in Rome to give a witness to a Gentile ruler of the world. Nobody else could do this. Now, the other factor in this is that it was a capital crime. So here's a Roman citizen in a foreign land accused of a capital crime. Many of these things apply with laws today. In other words, if there's a Filipino citizen in America and he gets in trouble and is tried by America, the probability is that they're going to send him back to the Philippines if he's committed a capital crime or something like that. Or the opposite would be true. An American here would be extradited back to America to be tried for that capital crime. So we still obey some of these laws. But here's Paul, a Roman citizen in a foreign land as far as Rome is concerned, and accused of a capital crime. And Rome actually protects its citizens, so they say, okay, you can appeal to Caesar. Wow.
Si Paul kay gi-accuse man siya, gipasanginan man siya, gibutang-butangan siya, nga nakasala siya capital crime, butang tug patay, nakapatay siya. Gi-charge siya diha sa Roman citizen man siya, i-charge man siya dito sa Jerusalem, nga murag foreign gud kalayo man Jerusalem sa Roman. So ning hangyo si Paul, ning appeal siya nga dito ko i-judge sa hari. Kanang hari gyud mo judge sa kuha kay taga Roman citizen man ko. So susama ra di sa tuwa nga kung ikaw nakasala, Pilipino ka, nakasala ka sa diri sa Pilipinas, layas kang Amerika, ibalik ka dinhi. Or baliktad, ang Amerikano ning layas diri, nakasala dito sa Amerika, ibalik, extradite, kuha og balik dito.
Now this was not a common occurrence in Caesarea. There wasn't that many Roman citizens, and not every Roman citizen wanted to appeal to Caesar. That means his life is tied up for years because he's got to travel to Rome under arrest. He's got to appear before Caesar, and that's where you go for capital crimes. If you're found guilty, you die. So this was not a common occurrence in Caesarea. So Paul is some sort of like a folk hero, or at least a headline in the local newspaper. Look in verse 12, Acts 25:12. Then Festus, when he had conferred with the council, answered, Hast thou appealed unto Caesar? Unto Caesar shalt thou go. Now that complicates life for a lot of people, because now Festus has to figure out how to present this prisoner to Caesar so that it's not thought we've wasted Caesar's time. It's like the Supreme Court. They don't look at every robber or even murderer. That's local courts. That's taken care of way down here. So if you wanted to make political impression on Caesar, you didn't waste his time by sending him prisoners that there really isn't anything to accuse him of. Caesar would be mad at you and you wouldn't get any promotion.
So naglibog na sa si Festus kay iyang ipadala dito sa kang Caesar. Si Caesar mo na hari, mo na gid na pinakadako sa tibuok kalibutan kay ang Rome ay Amerika sa una. So imong kalas-kalasan ang panahon sa usa ka presidente sa nasod nga ikaw nara ka diri, gobernador ka diri sa Mindanao, imong ipadala dito nya wala pagiklaro nga sala si Paul kay di man sila ka klaro. So nagduwa-duwa sa siya kay senan kag padala nato ni dito nya kalas-kalasan sa oras ni Caesar. So nahadlok sa siya.
It also complicates life for the Romans, they have to figure out a way to get Paul to Caesar's judgment seat. They're far away. This is months sea travel in a ship at the expense of Rome. Plus, he's a criminal. They have to provide passage for soldiers to guard him. This is a big deal in the government of Festus.
So, lisod sad kay sanan kag months ang biyahion gikan sa Jerusalem padulong dito sa Rome. Layo-layo sa biya, di dako nagasto. Problemahan sa di komplikado sa lagi ang kinabuhi ni Festus kay sila biya magasto na niya butangan pag mga sundalo. Centurion pa yun. Kandagan na, dako gasto.
Verse 13, let's finish this chapter. And after certain days, we have finally arrived to witness to a king. And after certain days, King Agrippa and Bernice came into Caesarea to salute Festus. And when they had been there many days, Festus declared Paul's cause unto the king, saying, these guys are friends, but they're also politicians. And Agrippa is a minor king of a huge area. Festus is a governor. They respect each other, but Agrippa is far higher than Festus. But they still are friendly. Go ahead.
So si Agrippa usa ka hari pero dili kayo dako nga gingharian. Pero labaw-labaw lang gid siya pod ni Festus, gobernador na si Festus. Pero medyo kaila-ila lang sila.
So Festus takes this opportunity. Paul is already not en route, but he's scheduled to be sent to Caesar's judgment seat. It's going to take a lot of preparation. So Festus takes this opportunity to see what Agrippa has to say about this. Look in verse 14. For when they had been there many days, Festus declared Paul's cause unto the king, saying, there is a certain man left in bonds by Felix. He's talking about 2+ years ago. About whom, when I was at Jerusalem, the chief priests and the elders of the Jews informed me, desiring to have judgment against him. To whom I answered, it is not the manner of the Romans to deliver any man to die, before that he which is accused have the accusers face to face, and have license to answer for himself concerning the crime laid against him. That's exactly what our laws today, 2025, say. If you execute justice correctly, if you're accused of something, you should have the opportunities to face your accusers. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. Now, this also complicates life for the Jews. Because if Paul is going to get to face his accusers, they're going to have to go to Rome. What? Some of the Jews have to make the trip to Rome. Paul has just complicated life for many people.
So, naproblemahan na ginoon. Kaysa nambay kag moadto siya Rome, unya mo naay ga-accuse siya, di kinalan moadto pag Rome. Nadako kay gastos ni kag duha ka binulan ang biyahe padlong ang plite og pagkaon. Mahal ka na ba? So nakomplikar ilang mga kinabuhi.
Verse 17, therefore, when they were come hither without any delay on the morrow, I sat on the judgment seat and commanded the man to be brought forth, against whom when the accusers stood up, they brought none accusation of such things as I suppose, but had certain questions against him of their own superstition, not religion. They won't even recognize Judaism as a religion. They call it a superstition. And of one Jesus, which was dead, whom Paul affirmed to be alive. So they've got a little bit of the gospel, like many people right here in CDO, but they don't understand the gospel. Now, go ahead and repeat that.
So, ang ilahang tawag niya ang hari, Agrippa, ay ang gisultian nga naay gipasanginlan diri nga tao at turing at tubangan niya ni ugma kay mahitungod ni silang relihiyon. Superstition ang tawag nila. Dang lang gitutuan.
We're almost done. Verse 20. Because I doubted of such things, of such manner of questions, I asked whether he would go to Jerusalem and there be judged of these matters. But when Paul had appealed to be reserved unto the hearing of Augustus, that's Augustus Caesar, I commanded him to be kept till I might send him to Caesar. Lot of preparations. Then Agrippa said unto Festus, look at this, I would also hear the man myself tomorrow. Said he, thou shalt hear him. And on the morrow, when Agrippa was come, and Bernice with great pomp, what is that? That's ceremony, that's parades, that's music, that's dancing. Why? The king's in town. So it's a fiesta. Great pomp. We're talking about dum, 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 da, da, la, la. The whole city turns out. Great pomp. Video it in your mind.
So dunay dakong kasaulugan kay naalagi hari nga may abot sa usa ka lugar. So, parehara kung na moabot diri nga gobernador ay muramang kag magpista. So murag iparada ba. So mo nilang gihimo pump ang tawag nga murag dakong kasaulugan o dakong pista.
Great pomp. Look in verse 23, almost done. And was entered into the place of hearing with the chief captains and principal men of the city. At Festus' command, Paul was brought forth. And Festus said, King Agrippa, and all men which are here present with us, ye see this man, about whom all the multitude of the Jews have dealt with me, both at Jerusalem and also here, crying that he ought not to live any longer. But when I found that he had committed nothing worthy of death, and that he himself hath appealed to Augustus, I have determined to send him, of whom I have no certain thing to write unto my Lord. Wherefore I have brought him forth before you, and specially before thee, O King Agrippa, that after examination I might have somewhat to write. For it seemeth to me unreasonable to send a prisoner, and not withal to signify the crimes laid against him. Yes, that's reasonable thought. Smart by Festus. In a way, he's dumping it on Agrippa But Festus has to take the responsibility for all of this. So he's asking Agrippa to help him with it all. Now, next week, one of the greatest sermons in the Bible, chapter 26. And I have preached this about Paul many, many times in my course on public ministry and in the days of evangelism. Wonderful, wonderful sermon. In fact, I'm going to give you a homework assignment. Everyone must read chapter 26 before next week.
So, dunay assignment. Basahin ninyo ang chapter 26 sa dili pa sugod. Kay gwapo kay ni nga wali, kasi ko wali ani, chapter 26. Kay daghan kay kag mawali ani. Nga atong usbon nga si Pistos nagpalaban kang Agrippa kay naglisod digi siya padala dito sa kang Caesar Augustus nga wala siya masulat, wala siya ma-charge ni Paul. So nagpalaban siya.
And you'll be asked to sign a paper saying that you read it. So it's very good. Now don't miss next week. Very good message by Paul. Okay, Brother Pastor Ray, dismiss us in prayer.